Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 13th edition of the Comic Art Collector Conversations. Where it's going to be a little different tonight. We're one panelist down. George Hodge is having internet issues, and his router is kaput until the middle of the week. So we've got three panelists this evening. So probably won't be a long night, but that's okay. It's Sunday. We all deserve a short show every now and again. But I wanted to welcome two newcomers to the show, two people whom I've interviewed before on Comic Art Live. It's Mike Benham and Tim Guerrero. Thanks for coming onto the show this evening, guys.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, yeah.
Yeah, all right. And welcome back, Kavi, of course.
Yes, I've been all over this channel this week, so I'm happy to be here again for another fun time.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad to have everybody on. Like I've been telling these guys in the green room, I have had a very miserable day today. Electrical problems around the house. Maureen thought I could be an electrician, and instead I've been anything but. And the real electrician will be here tomorrow morning to fix all my my wrongs that I've done today and failed miserably. So I'm ready for a beer and a short evening tonight. So at any rate, let's. What I wanted to do was. Tim came to me today to be on the show, and he actually has a question he wanted to pose to everybody. And so I wanted to start off with Tim because I think it's kind of a good, it'll be a good thing for us to kind of discuss openly and kick some ideas around for him. So Tim, why don't you get us started?
Okay, thanks. First off, my daughter wants to say hi to you, Bill. She watches the show always with me.
Oh, hey, nice to meet you. I'm glad you enjoy the show.
She knows
awesome.
Anthony and Mike too.
Yeah, who does she root for?
Dealers.
Does she like Anthony or Mike more?
I don't really know. I've never asked her that.
I think most people root for Mike. I mean, most kids root for Mike as well. But that's all right. I just figured I'd ask.
I'll ask her later. So anyways, the topic I wanted to touch today is I've done my first consignment with Heritage Auctions. So I'm wondering what other collectors, how other collectors advertise their auctions in order to get more eyes on them and more bids. And so I'm wondering what do people do? Do you start posting? Like I use the CGC boards for the original art, but when would be a good time to advertise? At the beginning of the auction, when it's ending? I don't know. What do you guys think? Have you ever auctioned any of your pieces?
I have not used Heritage for auctioning anything. I mean, so I could chime in first. I'm sure we're going to get some comments from the people in the chat. But I think the CGC boards are always, one of the better places. You know how the CGC board is separated by the regular comic art discussions, and they have that art marketplace section. So you're probably limited to doing it just in the marketplace section on the CGC boards. But so that would be the first place I would go. And also the Comic Art L is still out there, and people they don't do it as frequently as they used to, but as far as promoting their art auctions, they'll mention them there as well. I think by and large, most people tend to wait until closer to the end of the auction versus at the beginning. But I don't think there's any hard fast rule, what's right or wrong. If you were going to do it early on, I think do it when the auction starts, and then definitely hit people up at the end. So those would be the two places that I would certainly suggest.
I've yet to personally consign artwork to Heritage, but I have consigned like big CGC key comic books and stuff like that to Heritage, and they do give you like a handy link where like all of your lots can be shared via social media. So I have sort of used that link, sent it around to some of my contacts that I know were like possibly interested in one of those books, shared it on social media, some Facebook groups, that kind of thing. But I have pretty much in line with some of the comments I'm seeing in the chat and what Bill said, probably closer to the end. Otherwise it, might get seen, thought about and then forgotten, So especially when it comes to social media, like you have a 24 to 48 hour window really to hit people with a link or a message, especially in a group or any sort of news feed style platform from a social perspective. So I think closer to the end of the auction is probably your max impact for getting awareness at the right moment or the right time, in my opinion, as well. So
yeah. I've never used those auction sites, just eBay for me, but I would say the opposite. I would actually say early and often. I mean, the more you advertise it, the better, I would think.
Right. I don't think people are going to complain. I just wouldn't do it,
Yeah, see, I take issue with the often part, because if you're posting the same thing over and over, you're going to be looked at more of like a just purely a promoter and not an actual member of that social community or group. I've seen that kind of thing take place where like the only thing someone will do in a group is post things for sale, and it's I get a little bit turned off by that. Like I don't want to. I'm not saying you should never promote stuff you have for sale. Obviously, you should promote it, but I think taking a little bit of a subtle approach to it and not overkilling on it, I think probably is better at the end of the day when it comes to social media. Like there are other places, like I don't really participate in the CGC boards personally. Like I've gone through the boards, I've read threads to sort of gain my own knowledge about various subjects or whatever, but I've never been much of a message board kind of guy. So I don't engage on the CGC forums personally. So maybe the etiquette there is different than, let's say, in a Facebook group or on public social media, like an Instagram account or something like that. But that's more where my experience is. I don't really have a ton of experience on the CGC boards, though. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither do I. Go ahead, Tim.
I'm subscribed to the CGC board, so I get for the original art only. So I get an email once a day with all the new posts. So
Right.
I've seen several people advertise. Listen, I've got this on Heritage or Comic Connect, and nobody seems to comment on them. But as long as people click on the link and if they're interested in the piece, are able to bid, then that's better for the closing price of the auction, right?
Right.
Sure. So you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, I think probably the final one is the most important one versus early on. Like Ruben said earlier, I mean, effectively, you'd think that Heritage is doing the right things to market your artwork already. Clearly, they sync their data with CAF. So whenever I get the actual file for a signature auction, it gets pushed out to all the premium members. I mean, there isn't anything at the end, but so we're kind of catching people at the beginning, and so would Comic Art Tracker and that kind of thing. They wouldn't. We neither of us do anything to promote stuff at the end of an auction, but at the beginning, that kind of stuff is at least subtly taken care of for you. And I did leave off Facebook. There's plenty of Facebook groups where you could mention something that is for sale and it's specifically for that, so no one's going to treat it as spam. And depending on who the artist is, there may be an artist group out there that might be interested as well. But probably timing wise, end of auction is going to be, the best time for you to do it.
I have seen people do that thing where they post it to CAF for sale and they'll have the link or, the link out to Comic Link or the link out to, to Heritage or whatever. I haven't tried that yet myself, but I have seen other people do that. So
Comic Link posts on CAF, right, Bill?
Comic Link does post on CAF, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I sync their data too. Yeah, I mean, trust me, Josh just told me this weekend to import his current the summer featured auction that just started on Thursday. So yeah, and they use a CAF gallery that's premium, so it's in the classified. So they kind of double dip essentially because I'm doing it and they're doing it.
Yeah. I started seeing that auction on, when was it? On the 12th. It started, and a lot of them have gone up because you can't track on Comic Link, right?
Yeah, no tracking.
Everybody puts in a bid so they can keep track of the items they want to bid on.
Yeah, always fun to put in that, $6,000 or $7,000 tracking bid, quote unquote, a bigger piece. Like
Right.
I tried explaining that to a buddy of mine once, who's not in the hobby, and he was like, "Wait, you're putting in a $7,000 bid, and you're not expecting to like win this? No, it's like this is not even close. It's not even gonna, it's like this is totally a tracking bid, and I have no worries whatsoever right now putting in a $7,000 bid just to watch a bigger piece. So
I did that on a piece of Hackies, and I ended up winning it.
what? Really?
Yeah.
On
Hakes?
Hakes?
Yeah. Hey.
What was the what was the piece?
Oh, I still have it. I won it last year. It was an Andy Kubert X-Men page, so I'm glad I bought it.
Nice.
Yeah, but I never thought I would get the winning bid with my
Right.
bid.
Hey,
was weird.
that's good. Worked out well.
I think Hakes does
Yeah.
have a watch list though. So I think, right? Doesn't Hakes have a watch list?
I believe they do have that feature built into it, although I've never used it. I have bid on Hakes auctions before, and but no, I don't think I've used their watch list function. But I think I've seen that link on the lots when they're live. Let's see. So, but yeah, and I will mention. Colin mentioned this. My editor on CAF, he says it's annoying when CAF members post auctions in the sales pages, or when they use CAF as like a marketing tool
Yeah, I've
to
noticed
promote it.
that.
It does well, and for us is for Colin in particular, when you're browsing stuff to feature on the daily email and that kind of thing, we don't usually feature artwork that's for sale, but a lot of times people will post a really nice piece to their CAF gallery, which alerts us to think that we should promote it, and then we stumble down it and then find out it's not even really being shown for any other reason than to promote the auction over on Heritage or Comic Link or those sorts of things. So, and it is kind of against the rules on CAF. You're not supposed to use it as a PR tool unless you're selling it through the classifieds or that kind of thing. So, but people do it, and by and large, people who support CAF, I tend to look the other way. At the end of the day,
if it's a premium member doing it or an active user doing it, yeah.
Right. It's like I don't go and crack down on people who do that, but I get it. That's why Colin mentioned it, because I'm sure I've run into the same thing, and I'm like, son of a gun, somebody thinks that I got asked to promote their auction. When it was totally accidental. I didn't bother to look that it in the for sale thing. It was on where it actually would say it's on Heritage right now. So I've gotten caught a few times, and people are like, "Will you promote my, eBay auction or whatever they're doing?" And I'm like, trust me, that was a mistake. So yeah. So that would be, I think, everybody that kind of commented in the chat, I think, felt the same way. And as is best probably to just get some reminders out there, and at the end of the day, you're going to have to hit all the regular spots, and that's the best you can do, and then rely on Heritage to promote it.
Has
really
anyone
well,
hit you up, Bill? Just out of curiosity, has anyone hit you up to like advertise their auction on like the homepage or something, like as an individual, not like a auction?
I get asked a lot about people who use eBay and wondering why their stuff doesn't get listed in the featured auctions and those sorts of things. But I've never really had anybody approach me outside of auctioneers to do anything special.
Right.
Although I have, I get asked, would you do this? And I'm like, well, it's all random. This is kind of how we do it. So I just would never want to get, into it at the collector level, even if they were premium, to have to go out and do that. Because if I did it for one person, then I'd have to do it for so many. We don't really have a vehicle to PR auctions in that way. I mean, if I had something, sure, I'd love to do it. But yeah.
Cool.
People are saying in the chat that they collect the catalogs from Heritage.
I try to keep as many as I can, but they do take up space. So
yeah, I got one at a convention, but that's the only one I got. It was when they auctioned the Hulk 180 page with Wolverine on it.
The final page, the cameo page.
The cameo page.
Cameo page.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think a lot of people keep those. I've bought old auction catalogs and and had price notations in them. So I think people save those, just for that reason. I've kept a couple where I've noted auction prices in them, and I tend to save the ones that I actually want to remember and archive for myself. But
Yeah,
all right.
I bought some old catalogs where they sold art, but I can't recall what was the name of those catalogs. They had full color pictures, and they were selling pieces. Those were nice.
There's a few. I mean, there's a lot of old profiles and history catalogs that are out there. If you want to go back further than that, Russ Cochran did a lot of. I mean, there's probably 100 auction catalogs that go back to, I don't even know when, probably the late 80s or so. But at the end of the day, those catalogs were really awesome because, like, catalog 1 would have all the auction lots in it for that auction. Catalog 2 would have the new auctions in it, but it would have a summary of all the sales from the first auction. So as long as you had like consecutive catalogs, you had all the auction results, in perpetuity, from those. And those are really nice catalogs to have. I mean, he put a lot of work in those, and those were some of the early ones that were out there. But color wise, though, early, Heritage has color ones, and Profiles put out a lot of nice ones before Joe joined Heritage, this beginning of the year. So, all right. Sorry, looking through. Oh, Sotheby's. Yes, Marcus. Sotheby's had a lot of color catalogs too. Yep. And Cochran's, Graphic Gallery. Yep, that's true, Mel.
I think those are the ones I got. Graphic Gallery, maybe.
Graphic Gallery. Okay.
Yeah,
yep. Very well. Yeah. All right. So there you go. That's so Tim, you'll have to let me know how your auction ends up going, since I don't know which lot it is. But
good luck with that, man. The first time.
Exactly.
Time consignment.
I would be nervous too, but with the way Heritage has been going, the last 9 to 12 months on their signature auctions, I mean, I'd say you're probably in good hands.
I can tell you from the comic book standpoint, I've been extremely happy the last 12 months with my consignments at Heritage. It's just been unreal good. So with the results, so I want to explore some consignments eventually with Heritage as well. And the comic book consignments that I've done so far have given me definitely some confidence in the results that you can get out of them. So good luck to you, sir.
Ruben wants to know what I'm actioning.
Well, this will be your option. This would be your opportunity to let everybody know. It's like,
here's a way you can promote.
I sent a couple of Why the Last Man pages because that auction is ending on
good timing.
11th, and the show starts on the 13th.
13th,
September.
Yeah, perfect timing.
I'm a little nervous because I was browsing through the lots yesterday, and there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, there always is these days.
Yeah.
Right, but that's a good sweet spot year-wise, for them, because you're going to attract the attention of people that aren't going after silver and bronze and that sort of thing. So I don't think it's going to get lost in the shuffle at all. I mean, I think they should do just fine. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hopefully.
So there you go, Ruben. Now you know.
Are we looking at Tim's pieces first, or?
You know what, Kavi? I was going to start with you if that was
okay. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, sure.
And hey, it's a very nice Thor hat you've got on. And
Thank you. I picked this up at a Boston Comic Con like 3 years ago or something like that. So
cool.
Yeah, great hat.
I like it.
Thank you.
I've got to get one for me.
You got to get look. It's even got like graphics on the underside right there.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's amazing. So.
All right, you sold me.
I'll send you the details on it afterwards.
Yes, please.
All right, which one did you have first for me? Okay,
here we go.
All right, so this is Scott Summers and Jean Grey strolling in Central Park by the one and only Steve Rood. Big fan of Steve Rood. Of course, beautiful painted works and color work that you see a lot from him, but I especially love his pencil and ink work. I think it's really exquisite work. And not everything has to be about action all the time, or battles, or heroes and villains in costume. I really enjoy some more slice of life, or I don't know, low key, or even in this case, like, a little bit romantic kind of pages. This isn't a published page. I believe this was a commission. This is in the gallery of James Henry on CAF. He's a premium member. And according to his description, this is Scott Summers and Jean Grey strolling in Central Park in a vintage style piece by Steve Rood. This commission was loosely inspired by the iconic walk that Scott and Jean took in Central Park after Bobby Drake's birthday in X-Men number 32. That was later revealed to be the moment when the couple declared their love for each other in one of the flashback sequences in Uncanny X-Men number 138. So that's kind of the genesis of his idea on this commission. And I think it just, look at this thing. It came out gorgeous. I'm a big fan. I live in the New York City area. So I especially love anything with New York City environments, backgrounds, skylines, that kind of thing. And, it doesn't get much more New York City than a stroll through Central Park like this commission. I just love it, man. Look, the patterns on the jacket and the tie, playing off of the pattern on Jean Grey's dress. She's holding cotton candy. You got the couple in the background up on the bridge, like behind, Jean Grey's right shoulder, kind of mirroring the pose that the two of them are in, which I found pretty nice. And then you have another two people way further in the distance in that bottom right corner within a silhouette. You've got the park benches. You got an Alexander Hamilton statue. You got, if you look towards their feet, you can even see the high heel on Jean Grey's shoe. You got New York City pigeons. Come on, pigeons. You got a squirrel. The park benches, you got the lamppost, you have birds in the air kind of dancing seamlessly between the leaves on the trees. It's just a picturesque, beautiful scene. Like one of my favorite Steve Rood pieces that is on CAF. It's just amazing. I love this piece. I think I mentioned on last week's episode that I was experimenting with pairing visuals, comic art with music and creating playlists. So I actually paired my picks for this week with pieces of music. And for this piece, I'm pairing it with a selection of music called Days of Wine and Roses, the jazz standard, but specifically the version by Wes Montgomery on his album called Boss Guitar. I'll put a link in the chat to this piece or this song or whatever. Let me see if I can grab the URL here. But take a listen to this. Not right now, but if you're curious, I would suggest enjoying this piece with this piece of music, this relaxing jazz piece by Wes Montgomery called Days of Wine and Roses. It's just it fits the vibe and just sort of the relaxing nature that I get when I look at this piece. So there it is. I don't know. I probably described that for way too long, but
no, it was a very good description, Kavi, and we'll show the second one in a minute. I saw Ruben asked how long it had been on CAF, and it's been on the site since 2015. So
6+ years. So.
Quite a while, and James Henry has a really great collection as well. He used to be involved with the big con in Columbus, the longtime collector. So you should check out his CAF gallery. And I was just thinking, Kavi, because I know I'd forget after your second artwork description, we should do a show one night where we're just showing art and maybe having some proper music references throughout the. I think that would be fun. So all right, now I'll show you a second piece.
Okay. So this is Dark Knight Returns by Jim Mahfood. It's a commission piece as well in the collection of D-Raj. I'm not quite sure how to say it, but I'll go with D-Raj. So Dark Knight Returns. Artist is Jim Mahfood. I really love Jim's work. I'm a big fan of his work. I have two Mahfoods in my CAF gallery. And I don't collect multiple pieces by a lot of artists, so that says a lot to have more than one piece by him in my collection. I find his style to be nothing. There's nobody really doing what he's doing. it's almost like he's taking influence from like the street artists of the late 80s, early 90s, NYC, like the Basquiat's of the world. And, you know, obviously the Basquiat like crossed over into fine art territory, and it turned into this massive thing, bigger than I imagine he ever would have meant it to be. But I see Jim taking elements of that street art, graffiti art, like it's punk rock to me. Like Jim Mafood is like comic book punk rock art, and he's like taking that street graffiti art and then blending it back in with comics and really just killing it, in my opinion. And you know, I love Dark Knight Returns. I love Frank Miller. I think this is a tremendous homage or ode to that universe. It's got this frenetic energy. I mean, look at the Carrie Kelly image, you know, framing her head with, you know, epic bats flying, circulating. And then you've got the mech suit Batman, of course. And it's almost like he's doing a skateboard pose right there. You know, he's got his like fist in the air, arms raised. It just really, just everything about this is punk rock to me. I chose a kind of a punk rock related piece of music as well. But of course, you've got the little bit of a glimmer of the Superman suit in the background, you know, juxtaposed against the large swooping cape. You have the nod to the mutants. You've got the Joker image. You've got the talking pundits on the TV. Like everything about this just screams Dark Knight Returns. But it's just done in such a Mafood kind of way. I freaking love this one, man. Kudos to D-Raj on this one. This one has been on the site only since May. Only has 74 views, which is criminal in my opinion. And shout out to Marcus for being the only person commenting on this on CAF, as usual.
Way to go, Marcus.
I'm going to add my own comment, you know, when we're done with the show. I wanted to talk about it on the show first. But the music that I paired with this piece, this particular piece, is a song from the punk rock / alternative band Rise Against. It's a song called The Black Market. So I'm going to post the YouTube for that in the chat in case anybody wants to listen to that while they look at the piece. But I basically chose it because it's got a punk rock dark sound to it, but it also has like you know, a little bit of elements of beauty and melody at the same time. And that's kind of what I get when I look at a Mafood piece. It's like punk rock and beauty at the same time. He's in my top 10 artists, you know, that I'm a big fan of. I would say at least, if not higher. So yeah, it's I love this, man. I love this piece.
Great choices, and yeah, I'm a big fan of Mafood too. So he's his style's always kind of stood out, and yeah, I've loved it. And as somebody mentioned earlier, he is now with Inky Knuckles. Awesome. So if you want to buy any artwork, definitely check out Cam's website.
I'll be hitting up Cam probably for, you know, something, I would imagine. Love his work. I already got one of my Mafood pieces from Cam, that Sublime piece that I posted in the gallery a while back. That I think you featured that at some point, Bill, in one of those emails. But yeah,
I believe we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stanley was asking about George. George is having internet problems tonight, Stanley. So we'll probably have George on sometime soon, but you could not make it tonight because of that. All right, good picks, Kavi. So let's move on to our second topic of the evening. And Michael, we are going to go to your jam topic, and we've got some things to show off. But you let me know when you want to start those. And,
all right. Well, I'll just get started with a little story about how they kind of came about. I know they've been around for a while, but as far as I'm concerned, back growing up, I was into art. And so was my grandfather, and we used to live pretty far away. So we would actually do kind of like a jam piece of art with each other. I would add some drawings to the paper, mail it to him. He'd add some to it and then mail it back to me. So that's kind of what came up with my idea of starting to do that with creators at shows. I thought it would be a fun thing to do. And the more and more I did it, it kind of evolved for me. I'll talk about how I went through the evolution of what I do with it as I go. But I find it a pretty cheap way of gathering art from artists at shows. So yeah, you can start showing the first piece.
All right.
So this is the first ever jam that I did. This was at a Chicago show in 2014. I was done getting commissions. I was still there for another 2 full days, so I didn't know what to do. And I went back to Merritt Michaels. He did the Deadpool kind of in the middle there for me. And I just asked him for a sheet of paper, and he gave it to me. And I started this drawing actually with a drawing right next to Benham, that little bald guy that kind of looks like a Simpson. I started it out by drawing that, and then Merritt drew the Deadpool. And then I just kind of walked around the show, and any artist that would do a free drawing on there, I added them to it. I didn't pay anyone anything. I had a couple people ask for $5. I'm like, only if it's free. So I just went through it. I got a lot of characters from like indie books and like creator-owned characters. I didn't even care what they drew on it. Like this one did not have a theme. As I kind of went through the evolution of them, I kind of came up with different themes to go with. And this is only on 9x12. I don't know if I mentioned that, but those are really small, and I've crammed so many people on that.
Yeah, Larry's letting you know that you could have crammed a little bit more.
I knew it got bad when in the bottom middle. I knew it got bad when they started drawing like inside the eyes of like other characters.
Yeah, Mark wanted to know if you kept track of who drew everything.
I kind of did on the back of it. I had any artist that wanted, I pretty much told them if you want to see the end result, you can write your email on the back, your name and your email.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did with this first one. But yeah, as I went on, yes, I definitely keep track of it now. But for this one, this was just kind of just did it.
Well, that's cool. I mean, it gave you something different to do, and it turned out well. I mean, you wouldn't you don't know what you're going to get, but that's pretty cool.
When you do it this way, definitely not.
Well, see, James is asking a question. I think we'll get answered in the next couple of slides we've got here. So why don't I go to the next slide?
All right. So after I did that one, that first jam that we just talked about, I call it an open jam because there isn't really any borders and people can kind of just
like jazz improvisation. It's everything.
Yep. So then after that, I'm like, I kind of want to start getting like a theme together, have them kind of come together. And if people don't know me, I'm a Marvel guy. Some Vertigo books I like reading, and some indie books, but for the most part, it's Marvel. So for this one, I blacked it off in little 3x3 inch squares. I just had creators that worked with Marvel draw characters that Stan Lee helped create. And then, of course, I had Stan Lee sign it at the bottom. So that was the theme for this one. And this is probably the easiest way to do it, I learned, because you're not really it's a lot harder to mess something up like this if you have like a little bordered area and you just have them do a headshot. When you're working with open jams, you're setting yourself up for some problems here and there. So I'm good with this one.
All right. Yeah, this is a really nice one. What's that, Tim?
Is this second piece free sketches too?
Oh no!
Or did you pay for those?
I paid for all these.
Got it. Okay.
I think maybe one of them was free. I think one of them was free. But no, I'm paying for them now.
Stan Lee.
Yeah. The Stan Lee signature is not free, of course.
Oh no. A lot. The art not free either. Just that first one. It was just that first one.
Did he say anything about the piece when he signed it, or?
Not really.
Not really.
It was. I had him sign it maybe a year before he passed away.
Mm.
He did look at it for about 3 seconds, which is a long time in those lines because those lines are like conveyor belts at factories. Yeah. But he did look at it, and then he just signed it and then said thank you, and that was it.
Who did that, Dr. Doom? I can't tell a single.
Oh, Dr. Doom, Mike McCone.
Nice.
Oh, very nice.
Nice, yeah. He's a nice artist.
Yeah, he's on a bunch of the jams I have. He was at a lot of shows when I was working on these.
Yeah.
And that Green Goblin.
Who did the Green Goblin?
Stegman.
Green Goblin. That was Ryan Stegman.
Yeah, I can tell.
That was when he does those those 5-minute sketches. That's what I had him do for a 5-minute sketch.
Oh,
Awesome.
great.
I like it.
Thanks. This is an example of open jam headshot that I did. And I started with the Benham in the middle and kind of worked my way around. And once again, the theme for this really was just Marvel characters I liked. I didn't really have anything too specific with it. But there's not much to say about this one because they're just headshots. I did have Mike Perkins go back in because he left the space at the shoulder where Carnage is. Mm-hmm. So I had him go back in there and kind of finish up that space. When I do the open jams, I like them really tight. I don't like a lot of space left. But yeah, that's about all I got to say about this one.
I guess for I'm sure on the ones that you paid for, you asked for the characters, but when you did that first one, did you give them? Can you draw a cap or did you let them do whatever they wanted?
No, I just said give me a little free drawing.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Sure.
Yeah, these ones I kind of went with who I thought the style worked best for the character.
Yep.
And obviously went by who was at the show at the time. Besides themes, you also got to think about, you got to research the artists and see if the style works well for the characters that you want them to do. I mean, if you come up to an artist that draws really wonderful women, then you're gonna have them add a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You
got to play to their strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
So Drew Productions was curious what the price range was on getting.
Yeah.
Just curious.
So as I mentioned before, it's kind of a cheap way to get art from artists. Once again on here, I think only one of them is free, and then one was like $15. I'd say the average price is between $40 and $50 per headshot for a jam like this. And that was when I did it, about two years ago before the pandemic. I mean, we've all seen the way prices have risen since then. So
right. So that makes for a very expensive piece at the end of the day.
It can be. But, if you look at each one of these and if you end up paying $150 per character on 9x12, that's even more money.
Mm-hmm.
Like this particular jam, I think took about 3 years. I mean, they take a while. I went to the last Heroes Con. I actually had 7 jams going at once there. So I was moving them from artist to artist, and I kind of had like level of importance of who I wanted on there.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them my cell number. I'm like, as soon as it's done, let me know so I can get it and move it.
Man, sounds like a major operation.
It is. That's why I'm not really gonna be doing any new ones from
right.
Now.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here like mesmerized, looking at the end result, but then have no desire whatsoever as a collector to put myself through that whole thing at the show or at the convention, because like I just wouldn't have the dedication or the energy even to some degree, because like when I go to a show, like I tend to try to relax and just go with the flow and let things happen as they may without putting too much pressure on myself, I guess. And having all that to get done within the artist alley on like one board and then have another board going, and then I'm impressed because I would never be able to do it.
Yeah, I actually have I bring a little index card and I keep track of where it's at for each one. I wish I was more like
a lot of effort.
Shows like laid back. Like I kind of stress myself out, I think, a little too much. I try to get too much in. Like I'm just like go. I don't even eat at cons.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Let me ask another question. Do any of you jam collector guys like follow like any sales for jams that people do? Like, because I haven't really looked into that much. I think I may have attempted to buy one jam piece, or that was done by somebody already after the fact on eBay or something like that, and I ended up not winning that auction, or not get, or somebody else bought it. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but I since I've never attempted it, but I have been tempted occasionally when some shake out that are been that are already finished, quote unquote. Do you think that is there a perception that that they break even, lose money? I'm just curious.
From my experience, every single jam I've seen up for sale, like a buddy of mine, he had a really nice jam. I don't want to throw any names out there, but he had a really nice jam, and I know he sold it for probably a third of what he paid for, with all the characters on there. For me personally, I think it's more personable to get it yourself. And it's kind of like when you go to a comic shop and you go through the hunt looking through the bins. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I think, like, I've never bought another jam that I didn't actually move around, and
I haven't seen many pop up, but I've seen them from time to time.
I know they're tough to sell. I mean, that's why people lose money when they try selling them. Unless of course you're lucky and you get a bunch of big name people that did it for free, and people buy it just because of all the names on it.
Yeah.
I think there was a question earlier. Have you ever been, did you ever have the perfect jam go awry, midway through it with a bad artwork image or anything like that? I mean,
I have been lucky. This one actually that we're looking at, the one that was kind of weird was the Green Goblin, because when the way that was drawn in, it wasn't super tight. Like you can see, there's a big gap underneath Shatterstar and Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And one of the other artists filled in the shoulder for Benham later on. So there was a lot of gaps. So when I saw that, I was like, oh boy, And then along the other side, luckily I chose Ghost Rider for the flame to kind of fill up that little tiny sliver along the side.
Sure.
I kind of worked my way around. So that's another challenge to it. And, maybe that's why I like it too. Coming up with the challenge of working around the jam. You'll see one of the other ones that I'm going to show later. It's very challenging at this point. So this is the first panel of a 3-panel jam that I started. One of my go-tos is Deadpool. And I learned pretty early on it shows he's a very simple character. I mean, he's very simple. So I started one of those block jams where it's just the 3-inch squares to save money when getting artist interpretation on the character. So I have a series of I think 5 or 6 of those. But this one I started an open jam with Rob Liefeld right in the middle because he co-created them. And I kept it just with creators that have worked on the Deadpool book in some way, and just kind of worked around it. And I gave the artists freedom. Pretty much the only thing I told them was you had to keep it really tight. It had to be connected. So kind of work your way around and make sure it's really tight. And this first one, at this point, I was just planning on doing one. That's why you got this really, really tiny Scott Koblish in the middle there next to the Liefeld.
Right.
I squeezed him in there to fill in that spot. I mean, I really should add him a larger one moving forward. But yeah, that's the start of it. Eventually when it's... Oh, and another thing I'm doing with this to fill in the gaps, I also added Katie Cook on there because she draws those cute little characters. You can see it above Liefeld's signature.
Yep, right here.
Tiny.
That's a very nice gap filler I find for the open jams. Another nice gap filler is getting writers that worked on Deadpool to sign in the gaps as well. This first jam, I'm not sure if I have any writers on that one yet. Anyways, actually I do. I have Fabian in the bottom corner, and he actually drew Deadpool's head.
Nice.
May I ask how much Liefeld charged for that sketch?
At the time, it was 300 Canadian, I think, if I remember correctly. And that was pretty high at the time. I think I started this in 2000. 16 or 17. But since he co-created them, he was like a must. I needed him on there. So
Yeah.
So this is the third panel. This is the one I'm actually currently working on. This one actually started, and this brings up another part of jams, mail-ins. So I knew I wanted Ian Churchill on it because I really liked the miniseries that he worked on. So I had him start with drawing it on his paper overseas and then sending it to me. So that's how this jam started. And then went to just was it Bachello or Pacello? I think it's Pacello. I went to him and he did the splattered Deadpool around him. And
That's great.
Baclo.
yeah, as much as I love that sketch, it's so challenging to work around. But he had the best answer. When I looked at it, I was like, oh man, I'm like, that's tough. I'm like, how am I gonna get people to work around it? And I'll never forget. He said, well, he's like, if they're not good enough to work around it, do you really want them on it? I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But I like how Clayton Crane added the headshot where he's getting shot with the gun from the dismembered hand at the top.
Right. That is great.
So it's pretty fun. But this one, when you look at the bottom of it, well, actually above where Clayton Crane signed the signature, that's actually we're at the bottom here. So you can see how it kind of went away from that, like being really tight.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you describe to keep things tight, sometimes it just doesn't go that way. And then another thing is, luckily I have a lot of friends that go to a lot of shows, and I have passed off jams to people to add people on, which is fantastic because it's very hard to go to every show. So some were lost in translation. Mark Brooks drew the Deadpool in the bottom corner, but it works great as like a base, I think, to kind of like frame it in, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, this is the last panel. I'm looking to get maybe 5 to 7 more artists on there. Hopefully I can see some of them at some shows.
So, of course, Marcus and his humor, he did want to know if you would be happy if someone added baby legs to the Churchill piece.
Oh, you know what? That would actually be a lot of fun. Actually, it would fill the gap, and it would be fun.
It would. It's a perfect space for it. Marcus, You are the master.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, my current plan was to have Wade sign it since he wrote that miniseries, but I actually like the baby legs better. Maybe I'll have someone do that. Maybe, you know what? If I see Churchill at a con, maybe I'll do that.
So as a question from James, he said, do you think artists enjoy working on jams more than regular con sketches?
I think it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
You can always tell when you bring it to an artist if they're excited about it or if they're put off on it. Like I've had some artists deny sketches on jams. They're like, I don't do that, or they're just not interested in it. And I have some that are super excited about it, and they're like, oh, and they will look at it, they look to see who's on it, and they're like, oh, I definitely want to be part of this. I've had some people sketch on there on this 3-panel one. I think I have 1 or 2 freebies on there. And I actually had one artist that does like a lottery type thing, and I did not win, but he saw it and he had his rep come seek me out at the show and say, like, I know you didn't win, but he really wants to be on there. So I was still able to get on there.
That's good.
Get him on there. So that was pretty cool. But I've had a lot of fun with these jams. It's a shame that shows aren't going on. Well, they're going on now, but that time off. But yeah, this is pretty much one of the last ones I'm filling up. I have another jam that's a box jam, it's squared in, and that has a pretty cool theme. It's Marvel characters with the characters drawn by the creators. So I have 3 more boxes left for that. I don't know who to get. I would love to get a Jim Lee and Mega Red. I'd love to get a McFarlane Venom, but you can't always get what you want.
Right.
So this is the second panel. Unfortunately, I don't own a scanner. If you don't know me, I don't own a scanner because that's money I can spend on art.
Yeah, this one was a very small image.
Yeah, man, I was there with you, but I finally bit the bullet the other day and bought a scanner. Ruben's gonna be proud of me. I don't think I've told him yet, but Ruben, I bought a
Eventually,
scanner. It's on the way. Okay.
What scanner did you buy?
The one that he recommended to me that didn't take up a lot of space. Like I don't have a lot of space to work with here in NYC, but it was one he recommended to me. I eventually would like to get a bigger one if I have a bigger space eventually, but
I was just reading yesterday a post about on the CBCS forums about scanners, and they recommended one that I hadn't heard before. That's sort of affordable. It's plastic.
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one Ruben recommended to me. Like it doesn't do printing; it's like purely just for scanning.
Just for scanning, yeah.
Just for scanning a flatbed, all that. Yeah.
12 by 17, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they look nice.
Yeah, the Mustex are the go-to. That's for sure. I think of most collectors, if that's all you're looking for is a scanner that can do a decent job. And you're right, they are kind of low profile, and yeah, they're great.
So back to the jam here. This is the second one I started on it, but I think when I place them together, this will be the one on the far right, simply because Dave Johnson in the middle, as Deadpool saying, I bet these people don't even know who Huey Lewis is. It's like a takeoff from that movie.
Of course I know who Huey Lewis is.
Yeah, from American Psycho. So and he's pointing in that direction. So I think that'd be a good one. Plus, along the side of it, you can see how it's really tight and it goes right to the edge. So I think that works out pretty well. This one has a lot of signatures from writers on it as well.
Very, very cool. Yeah, you got to get a good scan of that one when you get a scanner, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so the third type of jam, and I have not done this. Maybe if I do get back into jams, I will get into this. But a friend of mine, actually a couple friends of mine, gave me some examples to show tonight. So another way you could do it is to do a layout. And usually what happens is you have one artist do a full layout of the whole piece, or the first artist that does art on it, they do their character and then they do a layout as well. I'd say this would probably be the second easiest way to do it. The easiest being, just the squares. But this is a lot safer than the open jams because it's already laid out for you. The open jams are definitely the most difficult because, you get really far into one, spend a lot of money, and then have an artist wreck it. And actually, that brings me back to that question earlier. I have not had an artist ruin a good jam yet. Early on, I did start a jam, but I was lucky enough where the first person that drew on it, the other ones that drew a sketch, I was like, ugh. I just decided to just not keep it. I didn't keep that jam. I just kind of started a new one. However, I did have an artist do a drawing of a Deadpool on one of my square jams, and they drew it in pencil, and it was horrible. So I actually went in there and erased it. But it was really bad. All right, so back to this one, the layout one. So it's safer because you don't really have to worry too much about a mix-up. So this is probably early on with this jam, and then do you have the finished one for this one?
I do.
And then this is what it looks like finished. And sometimes you have just the ink sketches, and sometimes people color them. It doesn't really bother me either way if it's mixed. But this has a nice finish to it.
Yeah, that came out really nice.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yep.
So obviously some creators don't mind that they've already got a guide to work with.
Yeah. Some of them might actually like it. Who knows? But with the layouts, they're done in pencil. So if you bring it to an artist and if they have a different idea, I'm sure if they ran it by you and you both agree, just go with it.
No, it makes sense.
So this is your ode to jams, and now you're just walking off into the sunset and never doing it again.
Well, I might do a layout one at some point,
Okay.
but I do still have that Deadpool open jam and the Creator jam that I have to finish. So I do have to still finish those. But
still
just
a little bit to go.
What was that?
Still a little ways to go before you're fully done with jams.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned before, it's a lot of work.
It is, yeah.
It actually is. I've only started one, and I started it in 2012, and I've only got 2 characters in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's that's another big part of jams, patience. I mean, you have to really be a patient person with these. A lot of the jams that you do see for sale, you like one of the main things you notice about a lot of them is they're not finished. People just give up on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't know if I'd ever have that. I don't think I could have the patience, to be honest. But I like it though. I like the concept of going around because it gives you something else to talk to the artist about. That dude opt into doing it. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. And like I said, it saves money too.
What has been your experience with mail-in?
So far, it's all been great. A couple suggestions: make sure that you really protect them, like with masonite board. Make sure it's protected, and insure them too, so that the post office is more likely to take care of it. And ship them fast as well. I mean, I think I've done maybe 5 or 6 mail-ins total. It can be stressful when you have a piece that you already invested like $700 in, and you're sending it in the mail. It can be stressful. So I'm always like awaiting that message from the artist. Like, did you get it? Is it safe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always get nervous when I ship out stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes some artists are just that's the only way you can get them. So.
And what about their time frame for completing the part?
I've had great luck with that. Usually with the jams that I've sent to people, they usually, within a week. I think the month was the longest I waited before it was shipped back out. Yeah, I've had pretty good luck with that.
All right, let's see. This is the rough.
Yep. And actually, this one's pretty cool because my friend that did this, this is his jam. He actually did the rough himself. So he actually drew all this. So he had the concept that he wanted to do, and he brought it to life with all the other professional creators. So this is all him. He did the full layout. And here's the finished result.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it might be something I might end up doing someday. Maybe doing a layout myself. I think I have to think of composition that I'd want to do. But yeah, GMs can be a lot of fun, But on the flip side, they can be a huge headache as well. Because I mean, what if you do mail in a jam to a creator and they take forever to send it back? What if you're going to a show and they still have it?
That happened to me in my jam. I commissioned one of the artists to do a piece, and he didn't work on it for the whole show, so I had to get it back at the end.
Yeah.
And I lost on getting other people drawing on it.
Yeah, that happened to me with one jam at Heroes. I had someone where it just sat with them like the whole time. So finally I went to them the last day, to get it, and like, oh no, we're going to do it, and then they just never did. So I was a little bummed out about that, but it's part of the game.
Yeah. And Samuel, I think, what's your answer on that one, Mike? Would you ever sell a jam to fund a bigger piece, or are these jams more personal to you?
It depends on the jam. I mean, I got some I'm not in love with. I got some that I, would never part with. Like when you interviewed me, that one weirdo Marvel jam. I mean, that just came together so perfectly. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about that jam was, it was just an extra thing to do at the show. Like, it was just like a fun thing, and it turned out, turning out fantastic. Um,
Yeah, no. So yeah, the difference on this one, I know this isn't yours, but they don't seem to mind a lot of the space between things. And whereas you might be filling it with signatures or even getting Katie Cook to put
I know.
something in there as well, right?
I've talked to him about this before, but with this piece, you can tell the negative space does work really nicely with it, especially with all the webs involved as well.
It does, yeah.
If you were to go in there and start nitpicking and finding little spots, I mean, I think it would ruin it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I love the way it is. I was just thinking, the approach on the ones that you had done, you might find creative ways to kind of fill that in. But no, this one works great.
And then one more thing on jams. There's another type of jam that actually two more. I saw someone I think they were on Comic Art Fans. They were doing like a Wolverine versus Sabretooth, like page by page, like a storyline where
that's awesome.
Where an artist would do like a panel and they'd kind of continue the story. I thought that's
cool.
That was pretty cool. That might be an idea I might do someday. And a couple of friends of mine, they've started doing like full comic recreations, where they'd have a different artist do a page from that comic. And if you look at it in a way, that's like one big comic jam, really.
Right. Didn't I think it was Christian Cesares did that whole Dark Knight Returns issue with a different artist on every page of the book. Whatever.
From Felix, impressive. Right?
Yeah,
Felix
that was really
artist
impressive.
Work on them,
yeah.
Like the giant size X-Men, right?
What?
Someone did giant size with a project?
Yeah, there's a published one.
Oh yeah, that came out recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the one Marvel actually put out? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. No, that's very good. Well, Mike, thank you.
Oh, yeah,
You've well educated us on the art of the jam. Thank you.
It's funny. I don't even know if that's the technical term, but that's what I've used. I think it's pretty funny how it started for me. Through drawing back and forth with my grandfather, and then just being bored at a con for 2 days.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see, Tim. We're going to show your artwork now.
Okay.
Let's get those on the screen. Here's your first one.
Okay,
nice.
so this is from Felix Liu. The cover to issue 1 from Why the Last Man. This is a beauty. I contacted Felix a long time ago to see if I could trade a couple of my covers for this one, but he declined. He's not selling this one. I think he's had offers for over 100K, or at least he thinks it's worth that much. And probably if it goes to auction, it would make a lot of money. But this is beautiful. All that background work by Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, with the show coming out, that's definitely a valuable piece.
Yeah. Even the detail on the shoes on Yorick's Converse.
Yeah, so this is a beauty. And anyone that visits Felix's collection can get lost there for quite some time. He's got an amazing collection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I need to see it all. I haven't. I just scrolled through this one.
Yeah, no. Spend some time in there.
Yeah. Jeff is not doing too much work right now. He's dealing with he's sick. Yeah, Jeff is a great artist, and he's a great person too.
There you go. Lots of positive comments on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good pick. And let's see. Here is your second one.
This one, I picked this one because actually I love Automatic Kafka. This is a page by Ashley Wood, and I actually got the opportunity to purchase this from a Mexican collector a long time ago, like 9 years ago maybe, and I don't know why I didn't buy it. and now it's in David Dingman's, yeah, David Dingman's gallery. He's got
Yep.
a ton of automatic Kafka pages. I don't know how he got them all, and I haven't seen one go to auction because I really want a page from those issues, but they're hard to come by, especially when when one collector is hoarding them all. Yeah, he's got three galleries. One gallery has 18 pages, another one has 16, and another one has 6. And it was a short-lived uh, mini series. I think it was 6 issues, maybe. Can't recall right now. It's been a long time since I read it. But his art is beautiful. I have a page from Curse of Spawn, I think, and his art is really good. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely vibe together a little bit. Those two artists.
Yeah,
yeah,
without question.
Yeah.
hmm yeah. My food is great too. I got a couple of sketches he's made
Nice.
for me on at conventions in LA because he's almost always there.
No, that's good, and I think that probably is the first times we've talked about Ashwood or Mafood on here. Even when I
Yeah.
do my CAF updates, I hate to say it, I don't think I've ever featured artwork by either of them. I'm going to have to correct that.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what's great about doing the art. And that was James Siegel's idea when we were kicking around the concept for the show was also
Whose gallery was that in again? The Ashley Wood.
David
David Dingman, and if you
Dingman,
yeah, but if he's got his name shortened to David D.
David.
So yeah, so when you're looking for him, he is a premium gallery owner. So if you go to that page on CAF, it should be easy to, if you search on David, I mean, there'll probably be a dozen of them, but David D.
Right. Cool.
If you do a search for automatic Kafka, most of the pages shown up. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Tim. Those are very good pieces. And so, Kavi, you get to bring
Well, I
us.
wasn't sure. I know you wanted to call it an early night. I mean, I can.
No,
skip
it's
mine if you
okay.
want.
It's
All right.
my thumb. I did electrocute myself earlier, everybody, and so that's part of that. What added to my long day. But no, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I feel much
All
better
right.
right now.
Well, I'm pretty good at picking, I guess, more philosophical or esoteric kind of topics. And I went with the topic that I'm calling the balance in art versus story in collecting. So I guess where I'll start with that topic is that ultimately we're all art collectors here in this hobby. Like we're collecting artwork, right? Like every piece that we collect, whether it's a published piece or an unpublished piece, is a piece of artwork. But I think what really kind of distinguishes or potentially separates the comic art hobby from other art or image art based hobbies is that we have the narrative element. We have sequential narrative storytelling, right? So we're not just collecting art or the image, because I hear a lot of emphasis on the image, like, oh, that's a great image, what an image, it's a fantastic image. And that's what we're collecting. We're collecting artwork, but we're also collecting storytelling. And I always have to remind myself of that fact, because as an art collector, I tend to distract myself a lot with a lot of different just pickups, because I just like the image and I really jive with the image, right? But when it comes to collecting published stories that I have read or remind me of my childhood, or there's a book that I just discovered a couple months ago that I'm really into, or whatever, they're key issues or whatever. You have collectors that focus on first appearances. You have collectors that focus on, bigger runs, more well-known runs. You have complete issue collectors. You have full story collectors. So I think, yeah, and like Jordan's saying, he likes to get that piece of history associated with it, whether it's associated with the artist or the writer, in addition to the birthing of a character with his birth page approach, things like that. So I think there's these other avenues within collecting, and so it got me thinking, like, where has my focus been on as a collector? Like, am I more of an image driven collector, or am I more of an art, storytelling collector, I guess, and I think I'm both. Like, I went back and looked at every piece I have and sort of tried to assess my decision making process on what kind of a pickup was this for me. Was this more of an art driven purchase, or was this a story I connected to as a kid or as an adult or right now? Like, I bought artwork from books. Exactly. Like, I think everybody is both to a certain degree, but that's why I called it the balance between art and storytelling and collecting. There's no wrong way to collect. Like, you literally can't just be a one way of a collector. I think everybody has some sort of blend between the art and the story within comic art, because that's what we're focused on. Is we're collecting stuff from stories that we enjoy, or remember or appreciate from different various moments of our lives. So it is that intersection, the balance between both things, that really gets me excited about this hobby, or keeps me in this hobby ever since I got into it. So that's my topic. I know it's kind of an open-ended kind of philosophical discussion, right? For us as collectors, and I'm not saying there's no end of the day takeaway, but it's just something I feel like I need to keep thinking about more and more and more as I continue onto this hobby, trying to find that balance. Over time, I think I'm gravitating more towards story. The stories that I like reading growing up, reading now. I got back into comics in 2014, so it's been about 7 years since I got back into it, and there are books that I've picked up, independent books and stuff like that I've gotten so into, and I've made those collecting goals for me as far as artwork, right? And it often brings to mind in my head is like a hypothetical scenarios, because it's hard. Exactly like Ankur is saying, every collector, I think, wants to have the best balance between art and story, but it's not always possible. Because sometimes it's unaffordable. Like, if your favorite book is Dark Knight Returns, there's only it's hard, right? That's going to be a difficult challenge. But if your favorite stories is something a little bit more recent or modern, maybe you have a little bit better of a shot at achieving collecting your Grail story or getting a piece of your Grail story. But yeah, that's a great point. Like, there's so many different factors that come into play when we're thinking about acquiring art, or the strategy in which we approach collecting art. I find myself, just the longer I'm in it, the more, I guess, fulfilled I feel when I'm picking up artwork related to my favorite stories, my favorite characters, that kind of thing, or my favorite, even beyond that, my favorite runs within those titles, characters, and stories, right? So it's just something I'm throwing out there. I think we should all talk about it a little bit more, think about it more. The hypothetical I had in my head was, let's say you found a page from an issue that's really important to you, but it doesn't have any main characters on it or something, but as an art collector, as a comic art collector, what's the better place to put your money? Like, a really exciting image of that same character from another run that you didn't like quite as much, or getting a page from that run that that calls back your childhood, or is just one of your favorite all-time stories or your favorite all-time reads, right? That's a tough dilemma for me. Like, I don't know what I would do given that scenario. Not like that scenario is, no one's forcing that scenario on anybody, right? But I'm just trying to play out that hypothetical in my mind as a collector, and seeing where my head is at today. I think where my head is at today would be to get that page from my all-time favorite story, even if it didn't have the main character on it, even if it wasn't a crazy, splash or cover or whatever, because that page is really, really meaningful for me as far as the storytelling, as far as the story it's from. Yeah, of course, I'd love to get both, like Alfredo is saying in the
Yes.
chat, but sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes it is. It just depends on what it is. But I think I think this topic is spurring a lot of comments in the chat, which is kind of what I wanted. I don't think it's a topic that really, you can analyze or assess or create a formula or an equation, that will work for everybody or anything like that. But it's another sort of emotional piece of the journey in this hobby. Like, when I've been able to add pages from my, some of my favorite issues or stories, I just get this next level sense of accomplishment as a collector, probably even more so than getting a spectacular image from a book that I had no actual personal connection to. So that's the topic. I don't know. Was that all kosher, Bill? I mean,
No, it was totally kosher,
Yeah.
right? Because I think I'm a bit of both. I mean, sometimes I'm more focused on the art. Maybe there's a few pieces that I've picked up where I hadn't read the story, but I really like the art a lot, and so I've picked up the art just for the art's sake. And other times I've picked pieces up just because it's from a story that I really appreciate, like that Iron Man 150 page. I mean, that's probably not like the best page in the book or anything, but I wanted an example from that book, and it didn't need to have Dr. Doom on it at all, and and it didn't, and it has a lot of other good qualities to it. So yeah, I think that's I think everybody weighs, because I can say for me, I don't necessarily go out and say I want to get a Paul Smith X-Men page from a particular book, but I'd love to get an example. I mean, even if it didn't have any X-Men on it, I'd love to get one day, right? So yeah, I think every collector kind of approaches it differently. If you're a heavy comic reader and the stories are what really is a big part of your passion, in the hobby, then I would have to believe that most of those people would probably be looking for things that they've read and things that they they really want to get a great example from. So yeah, every collector is different, and that's the best thing about our hobby is you can approach it in so many different ways, whether it's the art or it's the character. Some people really just want to get Wolverines, or like you said, other people who just want first appearances. There's a lot of different things that drive people in the hobby to open up their checkbooks or pull out their credit card, right? So
right now I feel like I'm almost 50-50. Like my decisions are, I think, half driven by the image-based decisions, and then story-based decisions. Like I even went through every published piece of my collection and tried to put it in one. Like some of those don't even fit in either column. Some of them fit in the column of total impulse buy. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, or but the majority of the pieces I buy, I think, can fit into one of those two columns. And it was pretty staggering how split up my collecting was when I looked at it that way, between those two buckets, I guess, of decision making. But
sure. Yeah. No, I agree. Now, I mean, Mike, you primarily do you have a big published art collection, Mike? I think you might focus more on
Mike's on mute.
Oh, Mike, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, no worries.
My wife was doing dishes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a bunch of published pages as well, and some covers. I'm both. I mean, I buy art because I like the way it looks. I recently bought a Labyrinth page, completely out of what I collect, but I thought it was fun, so I grabbed that. But yeah, it's both. I think another factor is how much money do you have at the time when something is available too.
Sure.
So.
All right. I mean, as collectors, we are opportunistic, right? Sometimes we see something that we feel we might not get the opportunity to pick up later, and even if it isn't ideal or perfect for your collection, you still buy it, right? I mean, I think that does happen a lot. So, and I could say I wouldn't say half. Probably like a quarter of my collection I feel is like that. I see it and I think I just might not be able to get something from that artist or that title or maybe with that character, and I buy it. And
a lot of it's one of a kind too. So if you miss it, I mean, sometimes they seldomly just show up again, and then when they do, they'll be double the price.
Right. I mean, that's where my head is at. Like when I see a page pop out, from an issue that I really love, it may not be the ideal page, just like that example Bill mentioned on his Iron Man page. But I'm afraid to like let that opportunity go by. I feel like when I see that.
Recently there was a piece that I just had to have, so I just scrambled and sold a bunch of stuff that I wasn't into anymore. No regrets, but when you find yourself doing stuff like that to get a piece, that's when you realize you are an addict.
That is very true.
It always seems to come back around to that topic, doesn't it? A little bit.
Yeah, James, he nailed it. He's the
really
thing
did.
that we were all worried about talking about openly.
Yeah.
But it's true. It really is true. That, again, that's the best part about this hobby. I mean, there isn't anything else in this world that I could walk by and just pause and be like, I think I really want to buy that. I don't do that when I'm clothing shopping or anything like that. Art, and it is so unique, and it stirs something in you that you just you didn't know you had until you see it, and you're like, I gotta own it. And that's why art collectors don't grow on trees, right? It's like you have to be passionate about it. You got to, and it's a cool thing, and we all appreciate art for different reasons. I mean, a lot of similar ones, but at the same time, art speaks to everybody differently.
Totally.
Sorry, I was reading through the comments that I missed.
A lot of comments. What about you, Tim? Any thoughts on this?
Well, most of the art I buy is from things I read. When I first started collecting art, I bought several pieces that don't fit in my collection any longer, but I've gotten rid of them. Lately, I've done two trades with Mike. So I got rid of that art, and I've gotten things that is more significant to me.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But would you say story is more important to you than the art, or are you on the fence, right in the middle?
Depends. Like Sandman, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's a segment right there where like the demand to just have a piece of that story often outweighs whatever the image is. I'm not trying to like put down the images or anything. I think there's great artwork in that title, and a lot of those kind of titles like Preacher and stuff like that, where people are just hardcore about getting a piece of that story or getting as many pieces of that story as that they can in their collections. And there's just tremendous demand for certain stories and certain titles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Preacher is very much in demand.
Yeah,
NSN is a big Preacher collector, right?
Yes, Michael is. He loves his Preacher. He just needs one more page, I believe is the quote.
Just one more.
Albert put a nice one on his drop day before yesterday.
Thursday, yeah.
I think, but
4 days ago.
It was pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I got one page from that series.
I got one in trade from Mike, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, Berkey's got a few laying around right now. I can tell you because I've seen him. He who knows when he'll ever get to them, but he's got a few more. He has a few more. That's for sure.
He's always looking for art. The last trade I made with him, he contacted me to see what I could offer. He's looking for pages for dueling dealers, I think. He needs fresh stuff.
Yeah, he's not going to let me be on that show again for sitting in for him. I can tell you that. Actually, you know what he told me? He's like, I want to go away for a month, and he was gonna have me sit in for a month, and I told him, no way am I going to sit in for one whole month for him. So we'll have other people on if he ever was to take a month of vacation. So, but Kavi, this was a good topic. I mean, really, again, it's stuff that that we don't normally think about, and it really, now that you've said it, it makes me want to kind of go through my portfolios too, and just kind of look them over and think about what was the reason, what was I thinking at the time, and how do I view it now?
Right. Because it evolves over time, the way you look at every piece in your collection. Totally,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, completely. So thank you very much. And yeah, I think from the amount of comments we saw, I think you picked a good one.
Thank you.
All right, so Michael, you get to
Take us home.
wrap up the show this evening, and we're going to show 2 pieces of art that you picked out. So let me get those on the screen here. And here's your first.
Sweet.
Right. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't use the other one because of the segue that we were just talking about.
I know. I'm sorry. I was thinking about it, but I wanted to keep. Some people get mad at me when I don't keep them in the right order.
Oh, it's all good.
All right.
I really like Esad Ribic's work, and I stumbled upon this Comic Art Fans a while ago. And I just really like how he captured like this destruction and horror, but yet it looks so calming.
Yeah.
Like he's just relaxing at the bar, but you got like murdered people around him. He's one of my favorite artists in the business too. I have a bunch of pieces by him. In fact, one of my favorite commissions in my collection was inspired by this piece. I actually, when I set up a Deadpool piece for Assad, I said I want something similar to this.
Whose gallery is this in?
I don't know. Assad.
Let's see. I know I've got these linked in here somewhere too.
Assad Khan.
All right, Assad. Yes, that's right. Assad Khan.
Assad Khan. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he does really nice work with color and composition.
Do you have anything from his Loki run?
I do not.
Miniseries.
Yeah, I do not because it's not like one of the things I collect. But I mean, I think his work on Thor and Loki is just amazing.
Surfer, he also did Surfer, right?
Yeah, I actually have a page from that series. I have a splash page from that series. You know, it's not something I normally collect, but you know, it's a painted splash, and it was very affordable, so I jumped all over it.
Yeah, I'm afraid to read the current Eternals run because then I might want to buy a bunch of pages. You know, the interior. Mikhail made a point about that earlier about avoiding reading sometimes because you might get tempted too much by the artwork. So it's the opposite.
I think it's better to just be strong,
right?
Enjoy the comics, and you know.
This is a great Frank. So I love it.
Yeah, it's a very nice piece.
Was this a cover or was this a commission? You may have said it already here.
I'm not sure. It's not listed as a cover. It is a cover. It is a cover.
Yeah, he has
a cover.
Okay. It is listed as a cover, but yeah, he doesn't list what he just says Punisher. He didn't really list the title or issue number on it.
Nice.
But yeah, no, great pick. Definitely a great pick.
Thanks.
And like you said, we could have led with this other image.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite series is Preacher. So, of course, when you guys were talking about that, I was kind of snickering because I knew this was on its way. But this is one of my favorite covers from the series because it's just so in your face. Glenn Fabry does, beautiful work as well. I kind of, I lean more towards all the painters in the business because that's the art form that I use with my own work. But yeah, no, I really love Fabry's painted work. It's amazing. And this cover for issue 3 just really captures Cassidy.
It's amazing. Something tells me that that's a piece that has a baller comment on it. So, yeah.
I'm checking.
You're checking now.
There isn't one.
Oh, okay. Well,
there should be.
It should be. Yeah.
Someone watching will do that.
Right. There it is. Marcus just did it. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this is definitely one of my favorite ones from the series. It's a fun one.
Do you own any covers yourself from the series? Do you own
What?
any covers yourself from the series?
Oh no. I wish. No, the pages are expensive.
Simon Powell. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've looked through Simon Powell's gallery.
Yeah, he seems to have most, if not all of them.
Okay, I'll have to take a look.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's got a lot of covers.
Yeah, no. He has an amazing collection, so you can get lost in his for a while too. And a long-time premium member as well, like most everybody here. No, the perfect choices. I like. You guys did great tonight. Very diverse. Like we said, there's a few in there that we haven't had on the show before, so I really appreciate that. As I think did everybody in the chat this evening.
Well, we could still get you home 30 minutes early, Bill. So,
Yeah, exactly.
do that.
I can ice down this thumb just a little bit longer. but no, this was really good. I appreciate it, and like I saw some people were commenting, we could have tried adding a fourth person from the audience. Maybe that's something we'll consider doing in the future. As long as somebody has a topic they want to talk about or question that can spark good conversation. I'm always open to improvisation during the show. So, but again, Mike, Kavi, Tim, it was great having you guys on this evening, and I appreciate it. I hope everybody had a good show, enjoyed it as well. And I'm sure we'll be on next Sunday. And I think coming up this week, I do have a interview on Tuesday with Simon Miller. So that should be a lot of fun. He's got a pretty cool collection. And, he's been a long time CAF member. I checked. He's been a member of the site since like July 2003. So within months of us starting, because I was surprised his ID number was like 148 or something like that. So, yeah, I don't see early numbers that
lots of Simons on CAF.
Yes, there are. There really are.
Popular name on CAF.
So don't pull the server blind. I won't do that, Scott. Good advice on there. It will not happen. But yeah, I did tell Maureen I've resigned myself from being an electrician going forward. I am paying a professional to come in the house to do any work. It's not my forte. I like to consider myself pretty handy, but not. Electricity is now off limits for me. But yeah, and before we go, I didn't get a chance to thank a couple people who did do some super chats earlier. I know they came up and then I missed them, but Samuel Rojas and Ken Carter earlier, and then also Jason right now. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
and Mikhail, for your sense of humor. I will stay grounded. All right. So again, have a wonderful night, and again, thanks, guys. I sincerely appreciate it. If you ever want to be on again, any of you, please let me know. Happy to get you on the schedule for future shows.
I'd love to do a collector interview at some point. I'll hit you up about that, Bill. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I'll be honest. Right now, my calendar is very open on Tuesdays. I've only got the next two booked. So
yeah, most Tuesdays work for me. So I'll just let me know when. I'm down.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Thanks for having us.